There are over 1.8 million identified species on Earth, and while these species are very diverse, they're also very united. The explanation that scientists have come up with for these similarities and differences among species is evolution. Evolution is the idea that new species arise from existing species over vast periods of time. The opposite theory is known as fixity of species and proposes that species were created and have not changed since their creation. However, evolution is a pretty accepted theory within the scientific community, and there's ample evidence to support it. One kind of evidence for evolution is fossil evidence. Fossils are impressions of species preserved in sedimentary rock. Scientists have observed that there is a progression from simple to complex organisms from the bottom to the top of a rock layer. This supports the idea that new species arise from existing species and thus supports evolution. Comparative embryology is another type of evidence for evolution, and involves the comparison of the development of embryos of different species. Scientists have observed that many species share similar patterns of embryological development, and this supports the idea of a common ancestor. Cytological evidence, another kind of evidence, and basically since all living things are made out of cells, and all cells have similar parts with the same structures, this suggests that there was a common ancestor to all living things that was made of a cell, which supports evolution. Another type of evidence for evolution is molecular evidence, which is that there's different parts of it, which is organisms use the same molecules. DNA is the genetic code for all living things. All living things follow the central dogma of biology, which is that information flows from DNA to RNA to protein. ATP is used as the energy currency for all living things. All living things perform glycolysis, which is perhaps the oldest biochemical process, and proteins have similar amino acid sequences, which can be used to indicate kinship using the principle of homology. Finally, comparative anatomy is another kind of evidence for evolution, and there are three different types of comparative anatomy, which is homologous structures, vestigial structures, and analogous structures. The latter is not evidence for evolution. Now, homologous structures are structures in different species with different morphologies, but the same underlying structure and same relationship to the body. So a homologous structure is, for example, the forelimb of a human, cat, whale, and bat. All of these structures look very different from the outside. They do have a similar function and similar structure. This supports the idea that all organisms share a common ancestor. Vestigial structures are non-functional structures present in a species that were functional in an ancestor, and this also supports the idea of common ancestry and thus evolution. And finally, analogous structures are similar organs with similar functions, but no structural similarity. For example, the wings of a bird and the wings of an insect. This shows a similar solution to an evolutionary problem. So both of these organs allow the animal to fly, but it by no means is evidence for evolution. Now, moving on to the mechanism of evolution, the wrong mechanism of evolution was proposed by Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, known as the law of use and disuse. So he proposed that the more an animal uses a body part, the stronger and better developed it becomes. So, for example, if Joe does a lot of bicep curls, the stronger his bicep will become. And this is true. However, Lamarck went on to propose that this acquired characteristic can be passed on to offspring. So, for example, Joe's son will have very strong biceps. And this, of course, is not true, which is why the loss of use and disuse is invalid. Instead, years later, Charles Darwin proposed the evolution by natural selection. He observed that there are variations within a population. For example, some people are tall, some people are short. And organisms produce more offspring than needed to maintain a population. But however, there are limited resources like food and shelter. So the most fit, which may be the strongest, the quickest, the smartest, depending on the environment, basically the most effective in competition, survive and reproduce. To summarize, Darwin believes in differential reproductive success, which is that those individuals with the most advantageous characteristics are more likely to survive and reproduce. And these pass on their characteristics to their offspring. The result of this would be a change in proportion of individuals with certain characteristics, and these changes would accumulate over time, which is what leads to evolution. This is known as natural selection because nature selects the most fit individual for the environment to survive and reproduce. And an example of this would be like bugs. So some bugs may be lighter than others. That's the variation within the population. Lighter bugs may be more visible to to predators. And so the lighter bugs are not fit for their environment, and they are eaten and killed. This leaves the darker bugs to survive and reproduce, and over time, the bugs would become the population in general would have more dark bugs than light bugs because it's more advantageous to have dark bugs. And that's just an example of evolution at work. Some important points about evolution are that it acts on species, not individuals. It has no direction and it has no endpoint. And that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this video and were able to learn a lot about evolution. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, don't hesitate to put them below or email them to me. Good luck.